this video, we're going to be taking a look at Commander Cody for the Saga collection in 2006. So it's about time I get a lot more of the Saga collection action figures featured on the channel. It's one of my personal favorite lines that Hasbro did, and it's one where I think my collection really ramped up at the time back in 2006. And I think to this day it still produced some of the best action figures that Hasbro ever made. And Commander Cody, I think, is one of those action figures. I've had this in my collection since 2006. I actually got him on Christmas Day of 2006. And it's one I cherish in my collection. He's been through a lot over the last, 17, 18 years now at this point. Hard to believe. And as you can see, he's not really that yellowed. I know this action figure is one that suffered from a lot of yellowing in a lot of people's collections over the years. Fortunately, this one's been blessed all these years where it hasn't really yellowed. It's not perfect. I can see there's slight tints in certain areas, but definitely nowhere near as bad as some people's, and I really hope it stays that way. I suppose if it was going to yellow at this point, after 17 years, it would have already done it. So pretty good. So this is actually the very first Commander Cody action figure that was released. Interestingly enough, he didn't get a figure in the Revenge of the Sith line. We got Commander Bly and Bakara, Commander Gree before we did Cody, who had a more prevalence in the movie. So that was pretty interesting. And the sculpt for Cody here, as far as I know, is totally unique. I don't think we've ever gotten any other Clone Trooper action figures that feature this particular sculpt. Is it a perfect sculpt? It's not 100% perfect, but I think it's really good. And even to today's standards, it's not that bad at all. And it pretty much does everything you would want for a Clone Trooper action figure. What else can I say about it? I guess we'll just go ahead and take a closer look at him. So I do have the Legacy Collection Commander Cody as well, and I thought about showing that as a comparison with this one, but I decided I'm going to save that for its own video at some point. So I think this looks pretty spot on to Commander Cody. At least the armor does. And it has a lot of really nice detailing in it. As you can see in his thighs here, he's got a lot of gashes in his armor. Not something that we see featured on a lot of Clone Trooper action figures. And he also has all these scrapes and carbon scoring, or whatever you want to name it. He's got it on his shoulders as well. And he's even got some of that on his main armor. So you can see he's got some pretty major scrapes on him. So Commander Cody's definitely very battle hardened. Definitely a war veteran. So I suppose if you could only make one complaint about this action figure, and that's with the stance here. And as you can see, he does not have any ankle articulation at all, so he kind of has an awkward stance. He's got a kind of bow-legged a little bit. It's not too bad though, and even without a stand, I don't think he's the worst in the world. Yeah, you can tell he's not the most stable, but if you get him in a good position, he'll stay. But I always keep him on a stand anyway. So the orange on him looks pretty good. It's consistent throughout. Looks like he has that badge there on his armor. Maybe some type of rank badge. He has an antenna on his shoulder. He has his jetpack here, which is removable. And this one stays into place pretty good. I know the Legacy Collection figure, and I think even the TVC one, it typically doesn't stay into place too well. But that's not the problem with this one. Helmet looks pretty good. It's about as accurate as you can get it. He does have a removable helmet, which is probably one of the best fits for a Clone Trooper helmet that I've ever seen. You really can't even tell that he has a removable helmet at all. And as you can see, prior to me taking this off, you can't see his chin or anything like that, which was a very common problem for a lot of clones at this time. As far as head sculpts are concerned, I think this is one of the best clone head sculpts I've ever seen. To this day, it's amazing after 18 years, Hasbro still can't get it 100% right. I think that looks exactly like Tamora Morrison. Has some nice scarring on him as well, across his forehead and along the side of his face there. Nice expression. But that's a really good head sculpt. He's kind of pinheaded a little bit, I suppose. But you know, that's probably a little bit more accurate anyway, because armor is going to beef up your body a little bit, and then of course if he didn't have his armor on, it'd probably be proportioned more right. So this might be accurate actually. Yeah, one of the best head sculpts I've ever seen for a clone. And his helmet fits on pretty good. Again, you can barely even tell that's a removable helmet. So in terms of the articulation, he does have the ball joint to head, and he has swivel shoulders, which I don't think is really a problem. There's angled at a way where you can flare out his arms if you wanted to, and of course you can get him holding his rifles if you needed to, or any other accessories. But he does have hinged elbows, and then swivel wrists. He has a joint at the torso. Then he has swivel hips, and then hinged knees, and nothing in the ankles. So very interesting articulation. Like I said, I don't think we've ever seen this clone mold on any other action figure besides Cody. In terms of weapons and accessories, he's pretty typical, I would say. So he has the standard DC-15 rifle, or both DC-15 rifles, which nothing more I can really say about this than what's been said already in past videos. But these are, in my opinion, the best sculpts of these blaster rifles that we've ever gotten. Not flimsy at all, very hard plastic, very sturdy, very thick rifle for both of them. It's a shame that we don't really get that anymore. Nowadays, the rifles are very flimsy and they're kind of skinny and don't really look right. I suppose they're a little bit better now than they were 10 years ago, let's say, but to this day, I still think these are the best. Then he comes with the typical stand that we saw in the Saga collection at the time, Revenge of the Sith, Commander Cody. Really miss getting these stands. Let me just see if he still fits on the stand. I know sometimes the peg on these ones are a little bit different. But yeah, he stays on that pretty good. And I think that looks really good. Then, of course, all the Saga collection action figures came with a hologram. Now, I don't know if this is the hologram he came with. In fact, I know that he didn't come with a Darth Sidious hologram. I think he came with a Vader. But we'll feature a different one in this video, and one that's probably a little bit more fitting. And that's Darth Sidious here. I think in the Clone Sergeant video, I did a red hologram. I'm trying to think if it was either Luke or Obi-Wan. I would have to go back and check. I know I didn't feature this one. So for all these Saga collection figures, I'll try and feature a different hologram if possible. There's only so much variety though, and each action figure, it was randomized. And at the time, I got so many of the Vader ones, both the red and blue. And I actually didn't get the Sidious one until many years later. I think this one may have came with Commander Poe, actually. Or the Combat Engineer, one of the two. So I've really only had this for maybe 5 or 6 years now. And I think Cody may have came with a blue Darth Vader. But still, these are nice to have. They're just statue pieces and not a whole lot to say about it. They do have their particular affiliation at the bottom of their base. And of course, in this case for Sidious, it's Empire. And like Luke, for example, has the Rebellion. And then who else is there? Maybe Yoda and Queen Amidala have Republic. And then Count Dooku and Darth Maul, for example, have CIS. A pretty good pose. These are fun to have. You can make your own little display out of all these holograms and make a scene or something like that. Just something extra to give with your action figures, and I really miss getting these. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to show with Cody here. I'll bring out some of his counterparts here. This one was also released in the Saga collection, the 212th clone. Then a year later, we got the Airborne clone and the 30th anniversary. They all look really good together. I got like 3 of these guys, and this is the only Airborne clone I have for the 212th. Of course, I got many other 212th clones as well. I have the TVC one, and then I have a couple Saga Legends ones. But yeah, they all look really good together. So would I recommend this particular Commander Cody for your collection? I totally would, even if it's really hard to argue if this one's better or worse, or let me rephrase that. Between the Legacy Collection figure, which was also re-released in TVC, and then this one, I don't think you can really say one's better than the other. Sure, the later version has a little bit more articulation, and there's some things about it that are better. But this Commander Cody is still a very solid action figure. And of course, if you're kind of on a budget, I think this one's a little bit more affordable. I was just checking out the prices earlier today of it, and most of them seem to be in the $30 or $40 range brand new, which, yes, that's pretty pricey for an action figure that used to be $6.99, but it's Commander Cody. And I think this action figure is one of the more iconic ones from the Saga collection at the time. I would say if you ask the average person in the Star Wars collecting community, what do you think's the most iconic or most recognized Saga collection action figures? Commander Cody is probably one of the ones that comes to mind. He's certainly in the top 10. So yes, I would highly recommend this action figure for your collection. It's a really good sculpt. It's not the 100%, but it's good enough to get the point across. And you can have a lot of fun with this action figure. You can get them in most of the poses that you're going to want them in anyway. So it's a really good action figure all around. There is a different version of this, and it was in the Ultimate Galactic Hunt packaging, which it was kind of a gimmick in a way. All it had was a silver hologram, and then it had a stand that was very shiny, kind of a shiny silver. And I do have some of those action figures, and I'll show them off at some point. It was carried over into the 30th anniversary line as well, with a gold coin instead of a silver one. So a little something extra that Hasbro did at the time. So whether or not whichever one you get for Commander Cody, it really doesn't matter. It's the same exact action figure. The only thing that's different is the stand and the hologram. But overall, solid action figure, and personally, I give him a 10 out of 10. It's, for 2006, it was a perfect action figure, and I think to this day it still holds up really well. And I still think it's one of the best clone troopers that Hasbro's ever made. It was one of the first clone troopers I really got in my collection. Of course, I got some of the ones that were Revenge of the Sith at the time, but this was probably one of the first 10 clones I ever got. And I think he may have been the first clone, or no, he was actually may have been the second or third clone commander I ever got. The first clone commander I ever got was the Commander Devis in the Revenge of the Sith line. So he was probably one of the first 3 or 4 or so. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be lots more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always greatly appreciate all your support. Check out some of the links in the description if you have not done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.